This war is 4 years old now, but there's a growing part of it, real or invented, that is hundreds, if not thousands of years older. On the winter solstice in freezing eastern Ukraine, and under the persistent threat of Russian drones, a company of Azov soldiers gathers. They are here to honor their dead and commit themselves to revenge in a ritual they call Mysteria.
Церемонію вшанування полеглих воїнів 3-го батальйону розпочати.
Today is the day of the winter solstice. On this day we celebrate the rebirth of the sun. On this day we pay the tribute to our fallen brothers. All are equal before the sun. Likewise, all are equal before the death. But our brothers choose the path of war, the true path of a man. They look death in the face. And on this day, we remember and pray for that who attained their eternal life in the battle. Our prayers are free of tears. Our prayers are filled with resolve and hatred. Our prayers are filled with the sense of revenge. We all have different roots and backgrounds, but we all have united under the flags of Ukrainian nationalism and the idea of struggle for free, independent, and sovereign Ukrainian state. Our brothers in arms have forever inscribed their names in the pantheon of heroes of the struggle for Ukrainian nation. Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
Remember!
Revenge!
Друг Вучак Ендрю Девід Маріо, громадянин Сполучених Штатів Америки, загинув 3 грудня 2025 року на Покровському напрямку.
Remember! Revenge!
Вільно! Rifle, down!
Azov, once an irregular volunteer unit that took up arms during the Russian invasion of 2014, has long had an association with Ukrainian paganism, and much to the delight of Russian propagandists, been associated with right-wing ultra-nationalism. However, in the 2022 invasion, their determined months-long last stand in Mariupol made them heroes to all of Ukraine, and furthered Russian hatred for them. They have become the most well-known, respected, and feared unit in Ukraine, now formalized as the 12th Special Forces Brigade. Whiskey Company is their unit of foreign volunteers, and it is their first Mysteria we witness.
Захід, присвячений вшануванню полеглих воїнів 3-го батальйону, завершено.
Увага, струнко! Слава нації! Смерть ворогам! Вільно! Commanders, your units under your command now. Вільно розхід!
So last night we got to witness a ceremony called Mysteria. This is a ceremony that I think a lot of journalists had heard about or like seen little kind of underground clips from. And we got to witness a entire company of Azov fighters commemorate their soldiers that have died in the last 3 months of fighting, some of them quite recently. And deep, meaningful, impactful, also very ancient in like a lot of different ways, and there's military and martial aspects to it, but there's also things that were primordial and like pagan. Really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. Kind of haunting thing to be a part of. I never spent time with Azov before, but I've run into a lot of their fighters. Like, you can't, it's one of the largest units in the country, you can't not. And there's consistently the ruins, right? There's a style of tattoos that they have. There's a kind of like a thread of mythology, seeing the fire, seeing the funeral pyre, and that's kind of interesting to me because that's a spiritual resistance that's going in deeper. That's something that I don't think, like, there's no NATO handbook for spiritual warfare, right? But it's also kind of in the roots of the Ukrainian resistance. Like, the beginning of the invasion, I spent a lot of time with Bratstvo. Bratstvo and Azov started off together. They were kind of the same formation, but Azov has all this like pagan mythology stuff going on, right? Whether they're serious about it or not, like, it's in their tattoos, it's in their kind of styling, right? The Bratstvo guys are fundamentalist Christians, Orthodox. And I asked the Bratstvo commander, kind of like their spiritual commander, like, you know, what was the deal? And he said there wasn't problems between the officers or the troops, right? He's like, we just had to separate because they are pagans. We're fundamentalist Christians, right? Like, we weren't fighting, we didn't dislike each other, there wasn't any problems there, but like, you just couldn't have these two things in the same physical space. And I guess my question now, partially with these guys, is like, is this just, and I don't think there's wrong answers to it, is this just like superficial, right? Are these guys just kind of like, they say and believe these things because it makes them feel better? Or is there, because we used to do a similar thing in the Marine Corps, right? We talk about like, see you in Valhalla, et cetera, et cetera. It was nice ideas, but we were all either atheists or went to church on Sundays. My hunch is that these guys, at least a core of these guys, right, is like, they actually believe this, and this is, they're maybe not in a factual way, but in a logical way, trying to go back to the Ukrainian paganism, right? Trying to go back to the Kiev-free people, right? And that's part of like a cultural resistance, it's part of a spiritual resistance. Has it been a tradition in the past to have the shields with the call signs on it?
Of course, we used as a base, we used Azov tradition.
Okay.
In this configuration as today, in Azov regiment, then brigade, it's happening since 2017. In this configuration, with shields, with fire torches, lights, and so on.
And the origins of it were back in 2014.
Yes. Every year, this mystery is a very special moment for me. And when the first introductory song is beginning to, how it's called, is beginning to play. Yes, to play. Every time I have these flashbacks from combat actions. I have flashbacks of my fallen brothers from my previous units. And generally, I think that the emotions that we have in our souls are the same. Not depending on that you're Ukrainian, if you're a foreigner, the emotions are the same.
Right. Yeah, and you can tell there's a lot of different people from a lot of different countries, and they all had the same look on their face.
Yes.
When they were saying the names and firing.
Yes. I think that was some kind of resonance. Is there such word?
Resonance, absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
That's a great
That's a resonance.
Can I share your call sign for the interview?
Call sign Barret.
Like the sniper rifle or the hand?
No, like
the pistol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
92 FS.
Yes.
Yeah, I learned this one. It's great. Well, Bruna, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having us and for trusting us.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you, Jed.
How long have you been in operation? An entire year, or was it like 6 months of preparing?
No, I came to battalion like 3 months ago. There was changing of command. I changed the previous commander of battalion, so
So was this a really emotional day for you as a new commander here.
Yeah, I can wait. Yeah, it's 3 Americans, 2 British, 1 Poland and 1 Ukraine. For the last 3 months, it's 4 of them.
I talked to a couple of guys in the unit, and they said that they had been together. Some of them had been together since the beginning of the war.
Yeah.
Is it pretty common that the guys you're working with here have been together a long time?
Not really. Like most of our soldiers is new guys who came like recently.
Okay.
But there's like a couple of them who stays in Ukraine from the beginning.
There was one guy who a couple guys mentioned to me. They said he was 22 years old and he died recently. Was he one of the ones that was honored in this?
No, it's a foreigner.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. He's really young.
We have a couple of guys like 20 years old, even 19 years old.
You've got it. It's more typical in America, but not in Ukraine. I remember like the very beginning of the invasion, the only thing the outside world sort of knew about the Ukrainian military was a unit called Azov. And they didn't know much about them except the fact that they were questionable and at one point been declared a terrorist organization, I think. And the other aspect of that is that at the beginning of the war, there was a lot of Americans and Europeans, people from all over the world who'd come to Ukraine to fight on the side of Ukraine. Now we're like 4 years into the conflict. And we're going back to spend some serious time with Azov and kind of re-examine these biases or presumptions from the very, very beginning or even before the conflict started.
A Harunjee is a military specialist unique to Azov. Like a chaplain, his responsibilities include spiritual welfare, or a political officer whose domain is political education. Yet Azov Harunjee take a larger, more direct, ritualistic, and wide-reaching role than either, and they participate in combat. In Kiev, we met with Docent, a veteran Azov Harunjee, as well as a survivor of both Azovstal and Russian captivity.
If you were explaining what the function of the Harunjee is to people from America or Europe who have no idea of Ukrainian culture, how would you explain that?
Харунжа служба займається лекційною роботою.
So they do lectures
Із військової історії,
about military history,
ритуалістики церемоніалу
about rituals and ceremonials,
і корпоративної культури
and
лекцій.
also about the corporate culture.
А також організовує всі ритуали і церемонії, які пов'язані із корпоративною культурою підрозділу.
And we, as Harunjee service, organize all the rituals and ceremonials which are somehow connected with corporate culture.
Ну і на нас лежить також мотивація підрозділу.
Also, we care
особового складу.
about motivation of our personnel.
For the public comprehension, there was one, I think it was a Mysteria that a video came out of, but really I think this is the only thing that the public knows.
Як правило, вона проводиться, вона у нас завжди так проводиться, це на рівнодення осіння.
Usually it's when, there's autumn day, when day and night are equal. I think if I'm not mistaken, solstice. It's вересень 21.
Так.
September 21, usually.
Це така обрядовість, вона пов'язана із ще дохристиянськими віруваннями.
So we chose this day because it has a very powerful meaning even before we took Christianity in Ukraine.
То, відповідно, це містерія пов'язана із Азовом, тим, який в цьому світі знаходиться, і з тими бійцями, які долучились до Небесного Азову. На самих церемоніях прощання з загиблим звучить завжди така фраза, там, Харунжі проголошує.
There is always a saying which Harunjee claims.
Приєднався до лав Небесного Азову. І в побуті такому світоглядному ми всі вважаємо, що колись долучимося до Небесного Азову. Але бажано не так скоро.
But better later. Better later, that's what he said. Yeah, better later.
Яких в Азові ніколи не було більшість,
There, people who worship paganism. It's not the majority of Azov people.
І не було більшості, але вони були дуже яскравими і помітними.
But we always know that we have them.
Yeah.
А десь просто мотивувати Вальхала. і вперед.
Sometimes we just need to say Valhalla and that's enough.
Okay. Interesting.
Ukraine has always had a large contingent of foreign volunteers by its side. As the conflict has grown longer and more deadly, the ones who have remained prove a different breed. Quiet, determined, methodical, without illusions. They carry a weight of mortality that can fill a room or be traced in distant eyes. TJ, an American veteran and volunteer with Azov's whiskey company, has been fighting since the start of the full-scale invasion.
And this company specifically is mostly foreign fighters, so foreign to Ukraine.
Yeah, it's all foreigners. Mostly Americans and some Brits. Primarily a lot of Americans, though. Several former Marines, former U.S. Army. Just a mixture of kind of everybody. We have some French guys as well. New Zealand. So yeah, it's all foreigners.
Okay. So it's like a little bit of like a really sick settlement.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of guys who speak English, kind of.
Okay, English kind of is the common language. And this is the first time you guys have had Mysteria for your unit specifically, right? Not your Azov, but at the company level, what did you see in terms of how that affected the guys? Like, did they come away from that?
I think it definitely improved their morale. I kind of understood about these ceremonies as a whole for Azov, but for the guys to understand that this was directly towards our brothers in arms who were killed, some killed very recently, it definitely improves their motivation. It makes them know that we're not just like meat-waving guys or cannon fodder or nothing like that. The guys are respected, that their name will be called, their name will be in history of Azov forever. So that's a big deal for guys, yeah.
This is a different thing. It was more personal, more ancient.
Yeah.
It's really different, a really different feeling. That aspect of it, the mythology of the unit itself, right? The symbology of the unit going back to the kind of Kiev Rus and the ancient Ukrainian nationalism. From my experience, I've seen a little bit of that kind of spread around Ukraine, but Azov is definitely the unit I've seen that's the most steeped in that. What are your guys' experiences as far as being a foreigner, seeing that kind of like mythology?
For a lot of guys, it's pretty new. You hear it, you study it, you watch Vikings on TV or whatever. So that might be the most as close as you've ever came to such a thing. But I think the guys who've been around here for a while, they've seen bits and pieces of this throughout Ukraine because they have like the Cossack way. It's in their blood. This is how they celebrate life. This is how they prepare for revenge for their soldiers who have been killed in action. And it's just how they send them off. So I think it's a little learning curve for some guys, but because we don't celebrate like that in the United States, or maybe anywhere. I've never seen a celebration like this, but they really respected it. They really appreciated it, and I think it'll make them better soldiers and more motivated going forward, knowing that that's how they celebrate life. So.
This war is over, not in terms of outcome, but how do you think it's going to go down in the history books? Like if you're an American kid in high school 10 years from now reading about this.
I think it's definitely going to reshape all militaries in the world, how they prepare for war. It's going to reshape the battlefield completely. I just hope that it's remembered as a victory for Ukraine. Other than that, I I don't know how it'll go down in the history books, but I do know it will change how we prepare for war.
Getting to sit down with some of the soldiers from Azov that we saw briefly or maybe spoke to briefly the previous night during the Mysteria ceremony. It's really interesting to me to see what their reaction to this was and how they sort of interpreted this. While this is going on and they're kind of mourning lost comrades, they're also getting ready for the next mission, which is happening, all I can say is soon. No matter how many times I think you've seen young men preparing for war, the anxiety of it is always kind of palpable, even on the guys that have been here for literally years and have probably hundreds of battles underneath their belt. So yesterday you were at the Mysteria ceremony. How did you feel about that?
How I feel about it?
Yeah, just like how was that experience for you? You've been here a while. You would have known some of the guys that have been commemorated.
Yeah, I mean, I liked seeing all my friends because it's been some time since I last seen them, but like I didn't actually like doing it because I know what it was for.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah. Yeah. Also, got the Batman underwear. Yeah.
And why Batman? Why you call him Batman? Where did this come from?
So my call sign in the military wasn't appropriate for fighting Ukraine, and my friend was just like, "Well, mine was Batman. Why don't you use Batman?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love Batman." So I just took it and ran with it.
I used to be like pretty stressed out before I went out on missions. Like
I'm not nervous now, but later on when I phone my girl and like talk about it, I'm sure I'll be nervous.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I think everyone gets it at like at different points.
If you're not scared, then something's wrong with you.
Yeah. That's another set of problems.
So we are going the correct way, then we're going to hit a T-shaped intersection.
Oh,
so
it now works.
An intersection
It now
with that
works,
end,
yeah.
and we'll make a right when that happens. So we left a little bit earlier than we planned. We're going to go meet up with these guys at their stepping off point for their patrol for their mission. This is like a little bit difficult because even though it seems like the mission hasn't started yet, this is actually one of the most sensitive points and one of the points where the Russian adversaries would most like to ambush us. We're also, we're within the range of their capabilities. We're also, for like the millionth time, learning that we're in a GPS denied environment, so we can't really rely on GPS to get us where we're going, but that is part of the job.
Azov makes the time for memorial rituals, but it doesn't slow down the tempo of operations. A night of memories, torches, and oaths leads directly into preparations for a pre-dawn raid to capture an isolated Russian position.
The bridge is still there. We can still cross that bridge on foot, right?
Yeah, of course. We're just gonna cross it with the truck.
No worries. What are we carrying for the second battalion?
We're carrying for Starling, and they will be exactly there.
Okay, awesome. We'll make sure that gets loaded last.
For second that we have only one bag.
Yes, sir. All right. We've got at least one person's morning to fuck up. So.
Oh yeah. It's already like it's always like that. Always.
There's just one line. Must be.
one clear demarcation between Ukraine and Russia is that Ukraine has drawn up a line of spiritual resistance against Russia's war of empire. Ukraine fights not only for its survival, but with a vision of nation and increasingly its own afterlife. From pagan rituals to fundamentalist Christian units and contemporary civilian culture, Ukraine is delving into its past in myth, fact, and fiction to widen, deepen, and self-radicalize its resistance against Russia.